Fair.
So I got to know Sarah in the last few years of her life, and blessed to have an association. So when I moved back over here, I was in the latter part of Sarah's life, and I must mention this because and I want to talk about this a little bit. I'm going to make it quick, not so quickly, but I want to make it brief so that we can entertain some questions, a few questions about what I'm talking about. Well, the title of my talk today is "Where do we go from here?" Not asking the question, but to give a solution. Because we've had Brother Malcolm, we've had Martin Luther King, and we've had Sarah Mitchell right here in this town. And I can tell you that I was fortunate to be with Sarah last few days of her life. Sarah was still learning, still growing. Even at the nursing home, Sarah had papers and all kinds of research. She was still expanding her consciousness, increasing her intelligence. So what is intelligence? Well, we say that intelligence is that reflection that we have from Supreme Being. We call it omniscience. So I'm going to talk today briefly with you about how we can increase our intelligence. Building on what Marty left behind, what Malcolm left behind, and what Sarah left behind. I think Sarah's example of learning, even to the last days of her life, she was busily increasing her intelligence. So we know, I want you to be sure that you understand we're not coming from something that we made up. We're not coming from something we made up yet. We're coming from a line of a great teacher. I'm going to present to you 4 yogas from a book called the Bhagavad Gita. I know there's talk now about Oppenheimer, one of the authors of Adam Bomb, and how he read Bhagavad Gita. In fact, it said that he went back to UC Berkeley so that he could learn the Sanskrit and read Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit. But not only Oppenheimer, but we find that Mordecai Johnson, who was the president of Harvard University, Louis Brandeis, who was on the Supreme Court, all that Gandhi is common. Gandhi. Now, Gandhi was studying Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the oldest book on yoga, self-realization that we have in India, probably in the world. We wouldn't go so far as say the world because we did have some knowledge of yoga in ancient Tibet. I know most here know that as Egypt. But the theme of Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield to a general. But the theme of Bhagavad Gita is how do we find the self? Who are we? Where do we come from? Now listen, that book was spoken according to Indian sources, about 5,000 years ago. As knowledge reflected from the Upanishads would go back even thousands of years before there. So I'm going to present you with some knowledge that was here before the Muslims or the Christians came in Africa, or they were even thought of. All right? So we have a culture. And when we say culture, we mean to cultivate. To cultivate what? Cultivate our intelligence back from the intelligence of a beast back into divine intelligence. So how do we do this? Well, we have one yoga called Bhakti Yoga. Now, we should go to Jnana Yoga first. Jnana Yoga is when you accumulate knowledge about the self. Who am I? Where did I come from? What's the purpose of life? What is the best ideal for humanity? What is the best goal of life for me as an individual? How can I be reawakened to being a person who thinks not only thinks, but thinks critically? How can I be reawakened to being one who not only deconstruct, but reconstruct argument, to think independently, to respect the masses, to respect the crowd, but to think independently and critically about everything, not just about trivial things, but to think very critical about who is presenting information to me. Where did I get the knowledge that I got from? Where did I get the knowledge that I'm using now? So these are all questions that are answered when we dig into the self. So we say that the self, the beginning of knowledge of the self. But let me make sure that you understand where we're coming from now, because we're not making up anything. We're coming from a line of teachers. And the teaching that I'm passing on here today was passed on to me by my teachers. We go back 5,000 years. And so Mordecai Johnson and Louis Brandeis had Gandhi in color. We're all familiar with, most of us are definitely familiar with Mohandas Gandhi, better known as Mahatma Gandhi, or Great Soul Gandhi. But Gandhi was a great influence of our intellectuals in this country, in America back in the 1930s. In fact, we have some of our blacks in America, our intellectuals who went over to India during the 1930s and conversed with Gandhi. And some of them said that they were so ashamed that they had been slaves. Gandhi told them it's not ashamed to have been a slave, it's ashamed to have been a slave holder. So Mordecai was one of the last people to see Gandhi just before he was assassinated. In fact, Gandhi told him, said, look, I'll probably be alive when you come back to India. So Mordecai went back to India in the late 40s, early 50s. And when he came back, he came back over to Philadelphia. At that time, Martin Luther King Jr. was at Crozet Theological Seminary, but he was visiting Reverend Stanley Ray, who was down in Philadelphia. Reverend Ray was a friend of Martin Luther King Jr.'s father, where they were both poor boys at Morehouse. So anyway, King heard him speaking in Philadelphia, and he was talking about Gandhi. King said, I'm talking about Sara. I'm tying it back into Sara now, because I want you to know that Sara was studied. We spoke about excellence. No, but Sara was always studied, always trying to improve herself, always trying to expand her intelligence. So anyway, Gandhi, Mordecai Johnson came back to Philadelphia, and Martin Luther King knew about him because most of us knew that Mordecai Johnson was our intellectual giant. He wasn't just talking about W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, but he was talking at a whole nother level. And so King went to hear him. And so Mordecai Johnson was talking about Gandhi. So Martin says in his writing that he had heard about Gandhi, but after hearing Mordecai Johnson talk about Gandhi, he said he was inspired. Just like many of us, I knew I was inspired by Sara. What Sara had to say, what Sara had to do. And how Sara went into Harlem as a black woman, young black girl in Harlem, and she made it back to Macon in one piece. How many of our girls go to these big cities and they can't return? They're ashamed to return, or they're dead on arrival, right? But anyway, so King said he went out and brought everything that he could find on Gandhi, because he had heard about Gandhi, but to have Mordecai Johnson to speak so highly of Gandhi, he said he had to find out more about Gandhi, because from what Mordecai Johnson said, he said he had the tools. He figured he had the tools that he needed to do what he had to do. Now, going back into Gandhi, looking forth into Gandhi, because being a researcher, probably a mediocre researcher as I am, we wanted to find out, well, we had Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King had his first experience in Macon, Georgia, as Sara did, not a first experience, but a hard experience when she returned to Macon. But King had his first major experience on the buses here in Macon, Georgia, when he returned from Dublin, and then church is still over there. Said, and I won't go out too far on the down there because all the stamps here was Sara. But I think Sara would appreciate me sharing this knowledge with you so you can ask questions and come to me later and get more of this knowledge, because we have to move ahead. We can't, who taught us what we know? We talked about Malcolm, remember one speech that Malcolm made in Los Angeles once upon a time. And he was asking, who taught you that you were black? Who taught you what you know now? Who taught you to be as dumb and as ignorant as you are? All right? So we have to question, where do we get the knowledge that we get? So we had an organizing Muhammad used to say that the best reward of our research is what? History. History, our own history. If we look at our own history, as Sara did, we find that we have a history long before the Muslims came into Africa and said, look, if you'll convert to Islam, well, we're going to enslave you. If you don't, we could put you in slavery because you're an infidel. And that is terrible. We have to be critical about this whole thing. It's not just swallow whole what someone has passed down to us. Now, I can get this. We should be able to think critically. We should be able to question who taught us, where our authorities. We can't come from one book and say that has all the answers in it. I tell you about a book called the Bhagavad Gita. There are many editions of the Bhagavad Gita. I'm citing the one that was spoken, passed down to what they call the cycle succession from 5,000 years ago, but we have many additions to that book, Bhagavad Gita. So anyway, the business of the bhakti, that of the Jnana Yoga, is accumulate knowledge about who you are, where you came from, where you're possibly going, best idea for life, for your life, the best idea for humanity, and how to get to it. When we gather that knowledge, that's called Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga. When we get into our Jnana Yoga, we go from, and we are actually, because we're talking about not a possible solution, because this is a real solution. I'm talking about not only working it's worked for me, it's worked for many others throughout this world. So get our Jnana Yoga. From there we go, when we get devoted to this truth, we enter what we call Karma Yoga. Become devoted. We do karma yoga, meaning all that we do, all that we offer, all that we give away, all austerities that we perform, we do it as surrender, submission, offering, service to our Supreme Being. And we say that our Supreme Being is omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. And this is it. Whether it's ancient parts of Africa, we might call it Jinyami. Whether another part of Africa, we might call it Umba, Lunga. One part we might call it Ngai. There are many, many tribes and many, many names to our Supreme Being. Or in this part of the world, our ancestors might have called it the Great Spirit. But this Great Spirit pervades and transcends every atom, it pervades and transcends every space between the subatomic particles that make up this body and all bodies throughout. This is our Supreme Being. This is your ancient knowledge. We have a word that we used to say in Africa. We said, Sankofa. Some of us now know what Sankofa means, right? It means go back and get it. Go back and get your roots. Go back and get yourself. Because we've forgotten who we are. Like we've been hit in the head and left for dead in that northeast corner of a deep grave, not just a shallow grave, but a deep grave. So when we finish doing our devotion and offering everything to our Supreme, why do we offer everything to our Supreme? Because this helps us to always speak about our Supreme. Always speaking about our Supreme is association with our Supreme. And association with our Supreme was the most pure. The most pure, that is our own Supreme Being. It's not something, okay, I'll sum it up now, but let me go through the last two. And I know I hope I didn't wear bushing out, but the thing is to plant these seeds so that we can continue to grow. We can't stop because Martin Luther King has been assassinated. We can't stop because Malcolm has been assassinated. And we can't stop because Sara is finished up in the city. We have to move on, and we're determined to move on, and we have to move along. We're not waiting for everyone else to get on board. Okay, so let's move on. I have two more yogas I want to talk to you about. The next one is that the karma yoga, when you offer everything, of surrender, of submission, service. We're serving our own Supreme Being. Our Supreme Being lives within us. It lives within our own intelligence, or whatever name we call it by. But the idea is associated with our Supreme Being all the time. And through our association, our consciousness, our intelligence is purified. Purified of what? Purified of slavery. Slavery to what? Anger, first of all, lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. Those are the enslavers of the soul. How can a slave set someone free? You say, well, I had my emancipation proclamation, and I'm free, but the person that so-called freed you was slave to the senses. Slave can't set another person free. We have to set our own selves free. Martin Luther King just said we have to dig into deep within the recesses of our own being and write our own Emancipation Proclamation. Okay, after that, we get the karma, and then the last one we call it Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga concerns itself with meditation. We meditate on the mantra yoga. We can talk about, I'm available to answer all your questions and talk in detail about anything I'm mentioning to you right now. But we can do the mantra yoga. We take a name of your Supreme Being. You do not have to stop being a Christian to do your mantra yoga. You don't have to stop being a Muslim. You don't have to stop being a Hindu, a Buddhist, or indigenous person. We say take a name of your Supreme Being. As long as that Supreme Being signifies omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. And call it all the time. Call it silently or within yourself. And by associating with our Supreme Being, who is supremely intelligent, we become more intelligent. So if we're a lawyer, a doctor, a street sweeper, whatever, we all can use more intelligence. All right, so I'll answer the question. I'll sum it up now, but we want to do those four yogas, the Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, the Karma Yoga, and the Raj Yoga. And there are many methods of meditation. So what we want in the West now, when you hear people talk about yoga in the West, they generally know it's hatha yoga, which is good physical exercise. But the goal of yoga is a Sanskrit word. It means shop, a union. So the goal of yoga is united with your own supreme being. Any questions, please? Any questions? Well, I'm available anytime. And we're on the rise now. No ifs, ands, or buts about. Come on with us. This train, I have to say, this train is bound for glory. Don't allow nothing with the righteous and the holy. They was telling one of our own righteous people. Let's break.